If you had told me 5 years ago that I'd end up here, sitting alone in my Ford F-150 with a cold cup of gas station coffee, listening to country music that suddenly feels a little too real, I would have laughed and told you to get your head checked. Back then, my life was solid. Francis and I had a nice little house outside of Dayton, Ohio. Nothing fancy. Vinyl siding, a cracked driveway I kept promising myself I'd fix, and a backyard just big enough for a grill and a couple of rusty lawn chairs. We met the old-fashioned way. Her family knew my family. She worked the register at Peterson's Hardware. I needed a new chainsaw chain. She sold me the wrong size, laughed about it when I came back mad as hell, and somehow talked me into buying her a burger and a beer afterward. Frances had that spark, the kind of smile that makes you forget what you came in angry about. She was clever, quick with a joke, always had a little smirk like she knew a secret you didn't. I liked that about her. God help me, I still do. Our wedding was small courthouse, followed by a barbecue in her folks' backyard. Half the town showed up. I thought we were set. Frances worked as a secretary at a dentist's office, and I did HVAC, bouncing between maintenance gigs and side jobs to make ends meet. It wasn't a glamorous life, but it was ours. The cracks started small. They always do. A weekend here and there when she was helping her sister with wedding plans, even though her sister had gotten married last year. Nights when she was too tired to talk, even when I knew damn well she wasn't tired enough to put down that glass of Chardonnay and her latest true crime podcast. Still, I pushed those thoughts down, deep where I didn't have to look at them. That's what marriage is, right? You push through. You don't jump ship the minute the waves get choppy. But then something started gnawing at me, and no matter how deep I tried to bury it, it kept scratching its way to the surface. It wasn't just the cold shoulder or the late nights. It was the way she smiled at me, like she was forcing it, like she pitied me. And hell, if there's one thing I can't stand, it's pity. I wasn't about to go snooping through her phone like some desperate high schooler, and I sure as hell wasn't hiring a PI like some rich fool on a soap opera. No, I figured if the truth was out there, it'd find its way to me. It always does. It just didn't find me the way I expected. It found me in a way so dumb, so brilliantly ordinary, that I still can't believe it unfolded like it did. Turns out when people think they're clever, they get lazy. They think no one's watching. They think you're too stupid, too slow, too small town to notice the pieces they leave behind. They don't know guys like me are made of noticing. We live off little things other people miss. And when I found out, when I finally saw it, I didn't get angry right away. I got real quiet inside. The kind of quiet where you make plans. Plans she wasn't gonna see coming. Plans that would make sure Frances and everyone else around her finally saw me, not as some poor idiot husband, but as the guy who never forgot what she did. Stick around. You're gonna want to see how this ends. You ever get that feeling like something's off, but you can't prove it? Like you walk into a room and someone's been there, but nothing's moved. You just know? That's how it was with Frances. It was a Thursday when it finally clicked, plain as a hammer to the forehead. The kind of regular Thursday where nothing big is supposed to happen. I'd swung by home mid-morning because I'd left my invoice book sitting on the kitchen counter. Normally, Frances would be at work by then, clacking away at the dentist's office. Except when I pulled up, her car was still in the driveway. Strange. At first, I thought maybe she was sick. Or maybe she'd finally gotten smart and quit the job she hated. I parked, grabbed the invoice book through the passenger window, and told myself not to overthink it. But as I was heading back to the truck, I noticed something. The trash bins. Frances always made a fuss about those bins. Recycling in the blue, trash in the green, everything bagged and tied because the raccoons will get it. Her words, not mine. Only that morning, the recycling bin was shoved half-cocked against the fence, and the lid was popped open. Something sticking out. I don't know why I looked. Just a gut pull, the way a man knows when something ain't right even if he can't say how. Inside the bin, poking up like a damn flag, was a cardboard shipping box. New, clean, hadn't even gotten wet from the morning dew yet. I pulled it out. A set of custom golf balls. Now, let me be clear. Neither me nor Frances play golf. Closest I ever got to golf was whacking a bucket of balls at the driving range on a buddy's bachelor party 10 years ago. And Frances? She thought golf was for rich guys with nothing better to do. Her words, again. But here it was, a box of golf balls. Real fancy ones, too. Personalized. I flipped one over, and that's when my stomach dropped like a lead weight. On each ball, printed real neat. To Coach, thanks for everything, love F. Coach. Now, that could have meant a lot of things. She could have been thanking her old gym teacher for all I knew. Except I knew better. See, a few months back, Frances had started working out at this local rec center across town. Told me she was trying to get back in shape before summer. It didn't smell right even then. Frances never gave two hoots about fitness unless a wedding or a beach trip was involved. And there sure wasn't any beach trip on the calendar. But I'd said nothing. Because that's what you do when you trust somebody, even when maybe you shouldn't. Still holding the ball in my hand, I stood there next to the recycling bin and thought about it. Coach. Love F. Custom printed golf balls. Tossed, not given. Not kept. Not treasured. Trashed. Like she couldn't get rid of them fast enough. If it was innocent, she would have given them properly. If it was nothing, she wouldn't be hiding the evidence in the bottom of a recycling bin at 10 a.m. when she thought I was off pulling ducts in some office building downtown. It wasn't just the golf balls. It was how fast she was trying to erase them. And that's when I knew Frances wasn't just stepping out. She was doing it with somebody she cared about enough to call coach. Somebody she gave presents to. Somebody she was sweet on. But I wasn't about to storm into the house waving a tit-list at her and demand answers. No. I'd waited this long. I could wait a little longer. I had a better idea. That afternoon, I made a call to the rec center. Told them I was looking to get back in shape and wanted to know about the programs. Real casual-like. The girl on the phone, sweet as pie, started rattling off options: yoga, spinning, weight training. Then she said it. And of course, we have Coach Andy's private strength program, she chirped. Very popular with the ladies. She giggled a little when she said it. Like it was some inside joke. Coach Andy. Private training. Popular with the ladies. I asked real innocent. Oh, Coach Andy, is he still taking new clients? A pause. Well, depends. He's pretty selective, she said. Selective. Now, I don't know much about gym memberships, but I know when someone's fishing around for the right words. Selective meant he wasn't picking clients based on how much they could deadlift. He was picking based on how they looked in yoga pants. I thanked her and hung up. My hands were shaking a little, but not from anger. It was excitement, almost. Like when you finally spot the buck you've been tracking all season, right there in your crosshairs. Now, I wasn't a total fool. Just because she gave some golf balls to a gym rat didn't mean they were fooling around, not proof. I needed more. I needed to catch her in a way she couldn't worm her way out of. So I started small. That night, I mentioned real casual over dinner, thinking about joining a gym myself. I watched her over the rim of my coffee mug. Frances froze for just a second, then smiled too fast, too bright. Oh yeah? You should. You'd like it. I bet I would. She didn't ask which gym. Didn't offer to show me around. Didn't say, come to mine. Nope. She just kept buttering her cornbread and pretending everything was fine. The next step was easy. I went by the rec center the next day around the time she usually said she had spin class. Just sat in the parking lot in my truck, pretending to check something on my phone. Watched the entrance. 40 minutes later, Frances walked out. Not sweaty. Not flushed. Hair perfect. Makeup perfect. Laughing like a fool at something the tall guy next to her said. A guy in a coaching shirt, clipboard tucked under his arm, with that smug, punchable look all personal trainers seem to have. Coach Andy. He opened her car door for her. She put her hand on his arm when she laughed. Not the way you touch a trainer. The way you touch a man you're sweet on. I watched her drive off, and then I watched Andy saunter back into the building with a stupid grin on his face. And there it was. No screaming matches. No secret texts. No lipstick on a collar. Just a trash bin, some golf balls, and a little patience. I didn't go home right away. I drove around for a while, letting it all settle. I thought about how dumb she must think I am. About how easy it must have been for her, thinking I was too busy fixing air conditioners and saving up for new gutters to notice the way she checked out of our life. But I noticed. And now that I had what I needed, it was time to do something about it. Not shouting. Not begging. Not fighting. Something better. Something she'd never forget. Because Frances wasn't just going to find out that I knew. She was going to find out what happens when you think a good man is too stupid to see the truth. When I finally pulled into the driveway that night, the sky was already bleeding into a deep, ugly purple. I sat there for a while, engine idling, headlights throwing two sad beams across the cracked concrete. Inside, the house was lit up like Christmas, every room blazing because Frances hated dark corners. Said it made her nervous. I killed the ignition and listened to the engine tick as it cooled down. It's a funny thing, knowing your life's about to crack wide open. You'd think you'd be wrecked with nerves, sick to your stomach, sweaty palms, all that. But me? I felt calm. Not happy. Not angry. Just ready. It was time. I pushed open the front door, and there she was, planted on the couch with a glass of wine in one hand and some mindless reality show blaring on the TV. She barely glanced up. "Hey," she said, smiling the smile she'd been practicing for months, the one she reserved for me and strangers she didn't really like. "Hey," I answered, setting my keys down on the little bowl by the door like nothing was different. My voice was steady, casual, the way you'd tell someone you're out of milk. I walked into the kitchen, poured myself a Coke from the 2-liter on the counter, and took a slow sip. "Busy day?" I called over my shoulder. "Same old," she said. "How about you?" "Busy," I said. "Real busy." I walked back into the living room and sat down in my usual chair across from her. Frances muted the TV but didn't turn it off, a little lifeline of noise she could grab if things got too real. We sat there for a second, the muted TV flashing dumb images between us. "You been to the gym today?" I asked, real casual. She stiffened just a hair. Most folks wouldn't have caught it, but I did. A micro flinch. Like a deer hearing a branch snap. "Yeah," she said, too quickly. "Spin class." I nodded, swirling the Coke in my glass. "Good. Good for you." Another beat of silence. Then I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, and said, just like I was talking about fixing the roof, "Frances, who the hell is Coach?" You could have heard a pin drop. Her face froze, just for a second, then smoothed itself back into that fake, calm look she wore so well. She laughed, light and airy, waving her wine glass around like she didn't have a care in the world. "Coach? Oh, honey, it's just what everyone calls Andy. You know, the trainer at the rec center. It's a nickname, right?" I said, nodding. "Makes sense. You give golf balls to everyone with a nickname." The glass slipped in her hand just a little. She set it down carefully on the coffee table, lining it up with the coaster like her life depended on it. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, voice tight. "You don't?" I leaned back in my chair. "That's funny, because I pulled a box of custom balls out of the recycling this morning. Said, to Coach, love, F. Now unless there's another F in this house buying presents for muscle-bound idiots, I'm guessing that was you." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. No sound came out. "Want to explain?" I said. Her shoulders slumped then, like the air had finally been punched out of her. She folded her hands in her lap, twisting the wedding band on her finger like it was a screw she could back herself out with. "Willie, it's not what you think," she said finally. "It's harmless. He's just a friend. A trainer. I wanted to thank him for helping me." I laughed then, not loud, not mean. Just a little dry chuckle that rattled in my chest. "Helping you with what exactly?" "Flexibility?" Her eyes flashed thin, the first real emotion I'd seen from her all night. Anger. Not shame. Not regret. Anger that I dared call it what it was. "You don't understand," she hissed. "You've been working late. You've been distant. I needed something for me. Someone who made me feel." "Feel what?" I cut her off, voice still low. "Special? Wanted?" She said nothing. I stood up then, pacing a little in front of the coffee table. Not because I was mad, because I was making sure every word landed exactly where I wanted it. "You know what's funny, Frances?" I said. "You could have said you were lonely. You could have said you were bored. Hell, you could have said you were tempted. I might have listened. I might have fought for this." I turned and stared at her. "But you didn't even give me that. You gave me lies. You gave me pity smiles. You gave me Thursday night spin class when you were really out playing house with Coach Andy." Her lip trembled then, just a flicker. Not because she was sorry, because she realized I wasn't giving her the reaction she wanted. I wasn't exploding. I wasn't crying. I wasn't begging. I was done. I walked over to the bookshelf by the door, pulled out a manila envelope I'd stuffed there earlier, tossed it onto the coffee table. It landed with a thud, heavy with papers. She stared at it like it was a bomb. "What's that?" she whispered. "Options," I said. "Sign papers. Divorce. You can take the easy way, sign them, take what I'm offering, and we both move on. Or you can fight me. But I'll make sure everybody knows exactly why this marriage blew up. I'll make sure Coach gets a front row seat too." She flinched. "Good." I bent down, hands on my knees, looking her dead in the eye. "You think this is about you picking someone better?" I said, voice dropping to a near whisper. "It ain't. It's about you thinking you could be smarter than me. About you thinking you could lie to me, laugh about it, and keep the house, the truck, the life I built." I stood back up. Newsflash, Francis, I said. You're not smarter than me. You're not even close. She sat there, mute, hands clenched around the hem of her sweatshirt. I walked to the door, yanked it open, and let the cool night air rush in. I'll be back tomorrow to get my things, I said without turning around. Better have your signature ready. And then I walked out, leaving her sitting there in the wreckage she made. No yelling, no sobbing, no scene. Just the cold, clean end of a lie finally catching up to itself. I slept like a baby that night. No tossing, no turning, no staring at the ceiling wondering where it all went wrong. Because when you finally see things clear, when you stop pretending someone's better than they are, it lifts off you like an old, rotted coat you didn't realize you were still wearing. Francis had made her choices. I was just finishing the paperwork. The next morning, I woke up in my buddy Mitch's spare bedroom, stretched my arms out wide, and smiled. It was a good day to clean house. Now, I wasn't about to pull some Hollywood stunt. No slashing tires or setting her clothes on fire on the front lawn. That kind of nonsense only gives the guilty party something to cry about to their friends later. Look what he did to me. Boo-hoo. No. I wanted clean. Surgical. Something that would slice right through her picture-perfect little life without leaving me looking like the bad guy. First thing, I hit up the county clerk's office. Fastest divorce filings this side of the Mississippi if you know the right forms, and I did. By lunchtime, papers were filed. The next stop was even sweeter. I drove straight to the rec center where our little golden boy, Coach Andy, spent his days flexing in front of desperate housewives. Parked my truck right out front like I owned the place, because in a way, today, I did. I walked in, polite as you please, and asked for the manager. Young guy named Brady. Couldn't have been more than 24, still green enough to think name tags made him important. Can I help you? He said, giving me the once-over like he couldn't decide if I was here to sign up or sue him. I smiled big and friendly. Yeah, just figured you should know. One of your trainers has been offering private sessions a little more private than they ought to be. Real hands-on, you could say. Brady blinked. Sir. Coach Andy, I said, real clear. See, turns out he's been using your facilities to romance a married client. Pretty sure that's against company policy. I let that hang there a minute. Brady swallowed hard. Do you have proof? I grinned and pulled out my phone. I wasn't dumb enough to snoop through Francis' phone, but parking lot cameras were public property. I'd spent $30 and a six-pack getting the maintenance guy to hand over the rec center security footage for the last week. There it was clear as a bell. Francis and Coach Andy, lingering a little too long by her car, hand brushing hand, her giggling like a teenager at a Justin Bieber concert. Not exactly gym-appropriate behavior. Brady watched the screen, his face getting redder by the second. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, he muttered finally. We'll take it from here. I bet you will, I said, pocketing my phone. Coach Andy was about to find out that when you build your castle on other people's marriages, it doesn't take much to knock the whole thing down. But that was just round one. Next came the house. I wasn't about to leave my name on a mortgage for some cheating wife and her personal trainer boyfriend to shack up in. I called our realtor, a bulldog of a woman named Cheryl who smelled commission like a bloodhound smells wounded deer, and told her it was time to sell. Fast. But won't your wife need to agree, she started. Nope, I said. Already filed the divorce. House is joint property. Court'll order a sale if she drags her heels. Let's not make this hard on anyone. Cheryl clapped her hands together like I'd handed her a Christmas bonus. We'll have it staged and listed by Friday. Beautiful. Frances loved that house. She loved the Pinterest-perfect kitchen, the backyard with the fairy lights, the front porch swing she posted 100 selfies on. Watching it all get packed up and priced out by strangers was going to gut her worse than anything I could say. And then, just for fun, I added a little cherry on top. See, Frances always prided herself on being respected in town. She worked hard at it, joined the charity boards, showed up at every pancake breakfast, made small talk with the mayor's wife like she was auditioning for a reality show called Real Housewives of Small-Town America. It just so happened that my buddy Tony, who owns the local hardware store, also happens to be tight with the city council. I made one call. Real casual. Hey Tony, just so you know, there's been some talk about that rec center and who they're hiring for private sessions. Would be a real shame if folks started losing faith in the places we send our kids for after-school programs, huh? Tony laughed so hard I thought he was going to drop the phone. By the next week, half the town knew about Coach Andy and his extracurriculars. Not from me, mind you. From concerned citizens. From worried parents. Rumors spread faster than a grease fire in a trailer park. By the time Frances figured it out, it was way too late to put the toothpaste back in the tube. I didn't even have to say a word to her. When I came by the house to grab my stuff, one duffel bag and a box, that's all I wanted, Frances was sitting at the kitchen table, pale as chalk, staring at a for sale sign Cheryl had slapped in the front yard that morning. "Willie," she said, voice cracking. "Can we talk?" I smiled, real polite. "We're talking." I didn't mean for it to get so. She started, wringing her hands. "So public." I finished for her. "Yeah. Funny how actions have consequences." She started to tear up then, but I didn't stick around to see the full performance. I grabbed my bag, gave the living room one last glance, the room where we used to watch Monday Night Football, where we decorated Christmas trees, where she decided she needed more than me, and walked out. No screaming. No fighting. No drama. Just a clean, cold goodbye. And that, my friends, is how you end a lie with a whisper, not a bang. Frances didn't call right away. She waited a week. Yes, she figured enough time had passed that maybe I'd cooled off. Maybe she thought I'd be sitting somewhere crying into my beer, missing the way she used to fake laugh at my dumb jokes and call it love. She never really understood me at all. When her name popped up on my phone, I almost didn't answer. Part of me wanted to let it ring out and die in the silence she made. But curiosity, the same dumb thing that makes you poke a bruise just to see if it still hurts, got the better of me. I answered on the third ring. "Willie." Her voice was small, like she was 15 years old again asking to borrow the truck keys. "Yeah," I said. No warmth, no invitation, just acknowledgement. She trailed off. "Can we talk? Please? Just talk." I let a beat pass. Then another. Let her sweat it. Finally, I said, "Fine. Same place as always. 6 o'clock. The diner. The one off Route 35 with the peeling paint and the world's worst coffee. We used to meet there when we first started dating. Back when we thought bad coffee and a good laugh could fix anything. Maybe it could have, once. Before she decided she needed shinier things. When I walked in, she was already there. Sitting in a booth by the window, nursing a cup of coffee like it was her last lifeline. She looked tired. Not movie star tired. Real tired. The kind that sinks into your bones when the lies you've told finally start to rot you from the inside out. She smiled when she saw me, that same fake smile she'd worn so many times lately, but it cracked at the edges. Like she couldn't hold it together anymore. I slid into the booth across from her. Didn't say a word. For a second, we just sat there, the buzzing fluorescent lights overhead, the clink of silverware, the low hum of some sad country song leaking out of the jukebox. Finally, she broke the silence. "You look good," she said, voice shaking a little. "Healthier. Happier." "Yeah," I said. Turns out being lied to for a year will wear a man down. Who knew? She winced like I'd slapped her, but I wasn't here to make her comfortable. I stirred a packet of sugar into my coffee, real slow, real deliberate. Let her talk. "I made a mistake," she said. Voice low, almost a whisper. I lost track of what mattered. I don't know what I thought. I was stupid. I leaned back, arms crossed. Stupid's a hell of a long road to drive down by accident. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said, tears starting to well up now. "I swear to God, Willie, I never wanted to hurt you." I smiled then. Tight. Cold. "You didn't want to hurt me, Frances. You just didn't care if you did." She opened her mouth, closed it, wiped at her eyes with a crumpled napkin. "I miss us," she said, voice trembling. I miss what we had, before everything got so messy." "You miss the security," I said, shrugging. "You miss not paying bills by yourself. You miss not wondering who's whispering about you when you walk into church." She shook her head fiercely. "No, I miss you. I miss the man who always had my back. The man who'd fix my car at midnight and still get up at 5 for work. The man who'd fight anyone who said a bad word about me. I was an idiot, Willie. I see it now. I was just so scared of feeling stuck. I ran straight into a fire." I sipped my coffee. "Bitter. Burned. Perfect. You didn't run into a fire, Frances," I said. "You set one. And you made damn sure you were standing far enough away not to get burned." She started crying in earnest then. Big, ugly tears that made the old waitress behind the counter glance over, frowning. I didn't reach for her. I didn't say it was okay. Because it wasn't. And it never would be. She calmed down after a minute, wiped her face clean, and sat up straighter. There was still a little fight left in her. I'll give her that. Always was too stubborn to die easy. "I know I can't undo what I did," she said, voice raw. But maybe we could start over. Try again. Build something better. We know where we went wrong now. We could fix it. Together. For a second, just a second, the old Frances looked back at me across that cracked Formica table. The girl who used to sit shotgun in my truck singing along to bad 80s music. The girl who used to believe we could outrun anything as long as we were side by side. And for a second, it hurt so bad I couldn't breathe. But then I remembered the golf balls. The giggling in the parking lot. The way she threw us away without even blinking. I set my coffee cup down. "Frances," I said, keeping my voice low, "you're real good at building castles out of sand and promises. But I'm not stupid enough to move back and just to drown when the tide comes in." She stared at me, not understanding yet. "You're asking me to forget the fire and pretend it's just a little warmth," I said. "You're asking me to stand in the ashes and call it home." Her lips quivered. "Willie, please. Don't throw away what we had." I leaned in, real close. Close enough that she could smell the soap I'd used that morning, the detergent from the cheap motel towels. "You threw it away," I said. "You don't get to ask me to dig through the trash and piece it back together." I stood up, tossing a few crumpled bills on the table for the coffee. "I'll always wish you well," I said. "But not in my life. Not anymore." I turned and walked away, the door jingling behind me as I stepped out into the cold evening air. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. Some things, once broken, are better left on the ground. You'd be surprised how fast life moves on without someone you thought you couldn't live without. I guess when you stop carrying dead weight, your legs get lighter. It took about a month after that final conversation with Frances for the divorce to push through. Fastest I've ever seen this town move on anything. Guess even the courts figured there was no sense dragging out a lost cause. She didn't fight it. Not once. Maybe she thought if she signed quick and quiet, she'd get some gold star for good behavior. Maybe she figured she'd look less guilty. Didn't matter either way. I got the truck, the tools, the savings I'd socked away on the side over the years. The house? Sold right out from under her. Every last fairy light packed up and auctioned off along with the life she thought would wait around for her to get bored of Coach Andy. As for Coach? Well, let's just say getting fired from the rec center didn't exactly do wonders for his reputation. Last I heard, he's running bootleg personal training sessions out of the back of a strip mall yoga studio 2 towns over. Real success story. Funny how fast the world moves when the shine wears off, isn't it? I rented a little place for now, a cheap 2-bedroom with ugly brown carpet and walls painted some shade of landlord beige. It ain't pretty, but it's mine. No memories clinging to the corners. No ghosts. I work. I sleep. I fish on Sundays. Simple. Honest. Quiet. You find out who you are in the quiet, I think. When there's nobody left to impress, nobody left to perform for. Turns out, I like the guy I found. Turns out, I was never the fool she made me feel like. The first few nights were the worst. Not because I missed her. Hell no. But because old habits don't die easy. I'd roll over at 2 a.m., half expecting to hear her fake snore, the way she always did when she was trying to avoid talking about something. I'd reach for the other side of the bed, find nothing but cold sheets, and have to remind myself that was a blessing, not a loss. Mitch dropped by a lot those first few weeks, bringing 6-packs and bad advice. "You ought to go out, meet some new faces," he said one night, cracking open a beer and tossing me another. "Get back on the horse." I just laughed. I wasn't looking to ride again just yet. Hell, maybe not ever. Some wounds don't need a bandage. They need air. Time. Space to scar over clean. One Saturday morning, about 6 weeks out, I was working on the truck, nothing fancy, just changing out a busted hose, when I saw Frances drive by. Same old car. Same nervous little white-knuckle grip on the steering wheel. She didn't stop. Didn't wave. Just slowed a little at the corner like maybe she thought about it, then thought better. I stood there with grease on my hands and watched her tail lights vanish down the road. Didn't feel a damn thing. No sadness. No anger. Just a quiet little flicker of gratitude. She'd set me free without even meaning to. Freed me from a life built half on love and half on lies. You know, folks around town had opinions. Of course they did. Small towns run on gossip the way cars run on gasoline. Some pitted me. Some whispered about poor Willie and how he didn't deserve that. Some whispered about Frances, too, not kindly. But the truth is, I didn't need their pity. Didn't need their outrage. The only thing I needed was the knowledge that I kept my head. I didn't throw punches. I didn't sink to her level. I stood tall. Walked away clean. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I guess if there's one thing I'd tell anyone out there who finds themselves sitting in the ashes like I did, it's this. People will try to tell you forgiveness is about them. It ain't. Forgiveness is cutting the rope that ties you to the wreckage. It's walking away from the burning building without dragging the smoke along with you. I don't hate Frances. I don't wish her well, either. I just don't carry her anymore. And brother, that's freedom money can't buy. A few weeks back, Mitch finally talked me into grabbing a beer at the VFW hall. I was reluctant, not because I was scared of running into Frances, but because I figured it'd be the same old crowd, the same old sad songs on the jukebox. But it wasn't. I sat at the bar, nursing a Bud Light, when a woman sat down 2 stools over. Not flashy. No spray tan or fake nails. Jeans, work boots, and a baseball cap pulled low over her eyes. She ordered a whiskey. Neat. Tipped the bartender before he even set the glass down. After a while, she glanced my way. Nodded. I nodded back. No sparks flew. No angels sang. But it wasn't sadness I felt. It wasn't bitterness. It was something else. Something better. A small, cautious hope. I don't know what comes next. Maybe it's just more quiet nights and long afternoons spent under the hood of a truck. Maybe it's something new. Something better. Something real. All I know is this. I ain't scared of it anymore. Not the future. Not being alone. Not starting over. Because once you walk through the fire, once you leave behind everything that tried to break you, you realize something important. You're not what they did to you. You're what you choose to become after. And me? I'm choosing better. I'm choosing me. Finally. Subscribe to the channel